Welcome back to CryptosRUs. I am George. We're all George. So, happy Friday. Welcome to another market open stream. We have a lot to discuss. Some very important economic data was just released in the US. How is Bitcoin and crypto going to react? How is the broader market going to react? And let's talk about why Bitcoin, regardless of what happens today, could hit $1.5 million each by this day. And that's not the top either. All right, let's do it. Welcome, guys. We are starting out the day at 94,000 Bitcoin, which is better than yesterday. Although you could see Bitcoin's been trending up from 91.1 all the way up to a high of 95,000 this morning. Kind of hovered here, and then boom, this huge drop down to 92, and we've been recovering then. Now that Wall Street's open, let's see how they will react for the remaining of the day. So what caused this right here? Well, that's because of, this one right here. The jobs report, okay? Jobs report came out and the payroll went up. So it was expected that jobs last month, employers was going to add around 150,000 jobs in the US, but we went up by a lot to 256,000, and unemployment actually ticked down instead of upwards. It was anticipated that we would stick at 4.2% or even tick higher to 4.3%, but we ticked down to 4.1%. Now, normally this is a great, both of these things are great things. When jobs are plentiful and employers are hiring more than expected and unemployment is falling down, that means our economy is doing quite well, right? Better than some have thought. But unfortunately, we're in that bizarro world, like I've been saying, where bad economic data is good and good economic data is bad. So that's why you can see we're starting out the day pretty red. Dow at minus 300, NASDAQ minus, I don't know why this is goofy, minus 185. So today will be an interesting day. What is Wall Street going to do? It has started recovering a little bit. It was actually worse after the jobs report came out. So maybe Wall Street comes to its senses and says, well, even though we got really good economic data, we shouldn't be selling. Even though we might not be getting more rate cuts due to this, the economy is blooming. And that's a good thing. And we still have a new president coming in 10 days. So let's see how US reacts. Right now, Bitcoin is trending back upwards. It's not falling down more. And a lot of alts are also making big moves. For example, Sui's back up to $5. ADA is coming up 94 cents. Solana, 188, right? You could definitely see the recovery from yesterday to now. So let's see if today turns out to be a good day. Are we going to get that major reversal today? Let's see. Let's see. Now, what else is going on that's good? Well, looking at the confiscated Bitcoin that the Department of Justice still holds, none of it has been sold. So that's good. This worry that somehow the US government will sell 69,000 Bitcoin within 10 days started to dwindle. Not a whole lot of movement. Not even one Bitcoin has been moved out. So that is very, very positive. Go keep my eyes on this and make sure that nothing is sold. And like quite frankly, I've been saying, whoever decides to sell will be quite idiotic because they're just going to get fired. All right, moving on. We're celebrating Bitcoin ETF's birthday, the very first birthday today. Man, it's been 1 year. Seems like it's been 10 years already, but it's 1 year. And within 1 year, all the ETFs have accumulated 1.13 million Bitcoin. That is a lot. That's 5% of the supply in 1 year. Mostly held by BlackRock, who holds 557,000 Bitcoin. Saylor does not like that. That's why Saylor keeps on accumulating more, but he's still a little bit off. And then you have Fidelity and Grayscale. Grayscale has been dumping and dumping and dumping, and now they have dumped to third place, but it seems like kind of leveled out. But man, in total, you're talking about 5% of the supply being eaten away by the ETFs within 1 year. Now, what about this year? Let's just say it's more of the same. We don't increase, which I do think we will. I think the rate of purchasing and inflows will increase this year dramatically. But let's just assume it doesn't. It stays the same. That means another 1.13 million will be eaten by ETFs this year. That would mean 2% of the supply, 10% of the supply will be eaten up by the end of this year. So the supply shock factor is definitely in play. Even if you discount everything else that's happening, just the ETFs alone, removing 10% of the supply within 2 years, that's a big deal. And this is the floating supply, the circulating supply, not counting what's being held by all the long-term investors and miners and so forth, right? So this will continue on. And one of the reasons why Bitcoin is going to go a lot higher, not one of the reasons, the major reason is scarcity, right? When you have so much demand and very little supply, you do the math, the price will go higher, right? And this year, we know that, hey, the US is on track to become the global powerhouse for crypto. At least that's the plan. Hasn't happened yet, but you have a whole lot of stuff happening. And here's an interesting stat here. Recent analysis revealed that 65% of Bitcoin is held by US entities, while the remaining smaller shares held by non-US entities. A large part of that is due to the ETFs and Michael Saylor, who also holds close to like 2.5% of the supply, and many others. But that's a staggering stat. 65% of Bitcoin is being held by companies or individuals within the US. And that number could be growing more as more favorable, regulations and rules get in place this year. We have this new crypto czar, David Sachs, that's going to be in the White House. But other than that, we got a whole lot of new, like I just talked about Gary Gensler, he's going to be gone, replaced with someone more pro. I mean, you got a whole lot of new leaders coming in this year and potentially, again, helping crypto. And David Sachs is set to talk to 24 industry leaders, right? It's hard to ignore now. I mean, just look at what Zuck is doing. Look at what Facebook or Meta is doing. He's definitely sucking up to Trump and the new administration. And imagine if all the industry leaders start doing that and embracing Bitcoin and crypto just because the US is going that direction, right? We talked about Microsoft and how they could add Bitcoin to their balance sheet. We still have Apple, Amazon, Meta, Google, and so many others, Oracle, Dell, IBM. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Imagine, and of course Tesla, and Tesla does hold Bitcoin, but imagine if all these industry tech leaders all start adding Bitcoin to their balance sheet. That would be amazing. Amazing indeed. Bitcoin miners are still mining. Hash rate is at an all-time high. So obviously the network is strong as ever. And no, not strong as ever, strongest it's ever been, which makes Bitcoin's network more valuable. People don't realize one of the reasons why Bitcoin is priceless is due to the fact that there's a decentralized network that operates. No government is trying to shut it down because they have given up. And it becomes more and more secure each and every day because there's more miners that are on the network powering or trying to solve the algorithm and powering the network. So bottom line is this network, the Bitcoin network, is the most valuable network on the planet. Because think about it. Visa, MasterCard, Swift, any bank, ACH transfer, wire transfer, MoneyGram, any of these services that moves money around could be shut down at any given moment. The government come in and say, hey, stop that transaction, recall that transaction, freeze that account. They can stop any financial transfers or bank account or anything. But what they can't do is stop a Bitcoin transfer. You can send your Bitcoin to any address around the world. It'll get there within minutes, and there's no one that can stop that other than the physical person getting arrested. But that is powerful. Nothing else like that exists where governments are not trying to shut it down. It's the one and only. Just no one really realizes how priceless that is. I mean, every government around the world have just given up trying to ban Bitcoin because they know it's useless. It's one of those things. It's really quite amazing if you think about. All right. A few other things. From a TA perspective, we hit 91,000 just a day ago. We have hit that mark many, many times. It seems to be our floor for this month and last month. And if we could keep consolidating between this range of 100,000 and 91,000, that's a good thing. Taking a breather allows us to buy more Bitcoin and crypto, right? We can buy our favorite projects at a discount. And then when we're ready to move out of that consolidation period, that's when we break out and move higher. It's just really that simple. There's no need to be bearish. There's no need to be scared. This is the way things are every single cycle. Well, this cycle has been the strongest ever. And if we keep on going the way we are, who knows where Bitcoin will top out this year? $200, $250, $300, $500,000. But this 1.5 million, if we're going according to how Bitcoin has moved and we apply Metcalfe's law or just law of depreciation or whatever you want to apply, of course, it's not going to go up linearly forever. There will be a slowdown while we're going upwards. We may be at $1.5 million by 2035, which is 10 years from now, which is only 2.5 cycles. 10 years moves very, very quickly. I still remember 2015 like it was yesterday. 10 years is nothing. If you have to withstand all the volatility for 10 more years to see your Bitcoin go up from where we are, 90-something thousand to 1.5 million, I think the trade-off is worth it. And even though some may not believe, it's just like 10 years ago, no one believed Bitcoin will ever hit $10,000 or an unimaginable $100,000. That's just fantasy world. 10 years ago, where was Bitcoin? Bitcoin was under 1,000. It was like a few $100s. And if you told people it was go ahead to 100,000, people laughed at that concept. Well, look at where we are now, 10 years later. What about 10 years after this? Can we hit $1.5 million each? Or even, let's say conservatively, let's hit $1 million, okay? it's going to happen because the FOMO will still exist. The demand will still increase and the supply will keep decreasing. It's just really that simple. And along the way, of course, we have a lot of great projects like SUI, for example, who's back up above $5. There's something, man, SUI is just so strong. SUI is one of those I've talked about, covered for a long time, but I told you guys like 4 weeks ago during my Sunday walk video, I was going to pick up more of because I think this year is going to do fantastic. And it hasn't disappointed. Even with the recent dip, it's back above $5. And there are a lot of bulls that think that, hey, it's heading for 635. But here's the thing. That's only the beginning. I think SUI's going to go up a lot higher than 635 this year. Probably a 10x at least from our current level. That's how bullish I am on SUI at this point. And they continue to execute. They have their accelerated program that they just came up with 12 projects. You have a lot of dApps coming aboard, right? A lot of games coming aboard. You got a lot of partnerships happening every single week, it seems like. One of the strongest projects right now by far. Quite amazing to see. A lot of people say that SUI is the soul of this cycle. It's looking more and more and more like that every single day. All right, what else? Here's the last thing I'll talk about. Ripple versus SEC. Everyone is waiting for SEC to drop its appeal against Ripple. They haven't yet, but Ripple did win a big thing. Brad Garlinghouse wanted to seal some documents. I don't know which ones, but it does seem like this is a big win for Ripple. So, at this point, the SEC should just drop it. Okay, with Gary Gensler being out in 10 days, they should just really drop this case. They already lost every single lawsuit against Ripple, and Gary probably didn't like it and decided to appeal, but there's no way they are winning. So this is bullish for XRP, who is also very, very strong at this point. So this year, or this cycle, could finally be the one where XRP makes a new high, which it hasn't. I mean, it hasn't been close since forever. 2021 high was not close to 2018 high. This cycle, this year, we may actually see Ripple push above $4 and make a new high. And it's been a long 7 years. Yeah, that's it. All right, let's see. The U.S. market is still not liking the jobs report. Okay, so Wall Street has not changed its mind. Still kind of weak right now. But let's see. MicroStrategy, Hood, and Coinbase in the red, but not as deep as it once was. Bitcoin is still holding around a little bit under 94,000. Again, Wall Street does not like this jobs report, which came out to be way, way, way better than expected, which is still a good thing. If people are not unemployed, people are making money, right? That means they're able to survive. That means we're going to have less foreclosures, less bankruptcies. You're going to have people that are still going to be spending and traveling, right? This overall is a good thing, not a bad thing, but Wall Street wants to see bad numbers because they want to see Fed Chair Powell cut rates. And we're kind of in that bizarre world, once again. Hopefully they realize that this overall is a good thing and they shouldn't be overreacting. Anyways, let's do some Q&A. Happy Friday, everyone. Did you guys see that headline where Janet Yellen actually admitted that all the money printing during COVID actually contributed to inflation. That's something that Powell never admitted to, but Janet Yellen, since she's on her way out, she's like, screw it, I'm going to say it anyways. Did you guys see that? I'm trying to pull that article up. COVID stimulus may have contributed a little bit to inflation. No. But at least someone admitted it. Because no one else would admit that most of our inflation was due to the 30% extra cash that was printed out, or the debt that was forgiven because of the stimulus. But at least she said it. But she said a little bit, but it's actually a whole lot, not a little bit. Michelle, Trump sentencing for hush money cases today. I saw that, but I also saw that there's no chance that he gets any jail time, house arrest or anything like that. It's just a formality. And the only thing that's going to ding him is that's going to be on his record. I read that it would be the only president ever to have a felony on his record. That's really it. It's just going to ding his reputation, but nothing else is going to come from it. Danielle Williamson, do you think Sui and Vet will survive a few cycles? They're not. One of the good things about crypto is they never die. Even really, really, really bad projects from 2017, like Litecoin, is still around. I'm just kidding. But I'm serious about that. There are some very, very bad projects that may not have the growth anymore and may not have any development, but they come back to life because they never die. So Vet has been around for a long time, since 2018. They're still around. Sui is new, came out in 2021. I think they're going to be around for a while. No, presidents can do pardons on federal crimes, not state crimes. So whatever he's guilty of in terms of forging documents and stuff, that's a state thing. It's not a federal thing. So you can't pardon himself. Am I speaking at Bitcoin 2025? I'll be in attendance. I'm not going to be speaking. Bitcoin 2025 is a serious conference with major speakers. If anything, I would be on a side panel or anything. But, I'm okay. I like my freedom. I like less pressure. I don't like to go into conferences where I have to do something. I just like to walk around, meet with people, talk to, some of the projects, and that's it, and leave, right? No pressure. I'm probably the next conference. I'll be at ETH Denver because there will be an IFC fight there. So that'll be the next conference. And then after that, probably Paris Blockchain Week. And then Token 2049 in Dubai. Then Bitcoin 2025 in Vegas. Man, I just got done with all my traveling last year. Now let's go kick up again. I'm finally going to get that United 1K. You know what? A lot of people have been asking me if I have like discounted code or link for Bitcoin conference. tickets. I don't, but I'm gonna ask the organizers, because I had it last year and it was a 10% discount. And I know those tickets are not cheap, so I'm going to ask the organizers, and once I get out, I'll share with you guys. Make sure you follow me on X, because I'll probably post on X all the time, and then I'll post in the description of my videos going forward. Paying hush money is legal. It is legal, but he forged documents. That's what he was illegal. That's what was not legal. Well, this is very good. MicroStrategy has just turned green. So that means Wall Street is like, we go buy Bitcoin. Or we go buy MicroStrategy. I mean, MicroStrategy needs it, man. It was decimated earlier this week. We need some MicroStrategy above 400 again. Edward, you could go look it up, man. Go Google it. It's all over the place. He forged financial documents hiding his hush money that he paid to Stormy Daniels. If his lawyers did that on their own without his acknowledgement or without his knowing, that he wouldn't be guilty of it. His lawyer would be. Or lawyers. I'm sure Trump has a team of lawyers. Anyways, I read it's not going to, like, unless the judge or something, the sentencing judge goes crazy, basically there's nothing. There's nothing they're going to hit him with other than a slap on the wrist saying, don't do it again. It goes on his record. He still becomes president, does his things. There's no jail time, no house arrest, nothing, no probation he has to worry about. The Supreme Court actually ruled it. He was trying, they ruled whether or not they should allow this, and I guess they did on a 5-4 vote. George, I have Solana at a price around 200, but 50K worth. Would it be smart to swap to SUI while it's still low? Hey, you got to make that decision, man. You got to make that decision for yourself. Solana's about 188 right now. You can see the patterns are all very similar. Poon said he's watching closely Trump regarding taking over Greenland. Everyone is. China and Russia does not want the U.S. to take over Greenland. It would be horrible for them, because then the U.S. could dictate the trade routes, because right now across the Arctic or wherever, they go through there. And then also from a military position, if we have all these nukes and missiles placed on Greenland now, it's so much closer to Moscow and Beijing. And we could put our defenses there too. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible for China and U.S. I mean, China and Russia if the U.S. takes over Greenland. But that won't happen. I doubt it. That's just like, it's nice to think about. I just don't see how there's any way we can pay enough for Greenland. I mean, I don't even know how we could pay for it because we're broke. We're $36 trillion in debt. Even Trump knows that. So how could you pay for something when you don't have money, right? We would cause inflation to go even higher if we decided to print more money to buy Greenland. And how much would it take to buy Greenland? I mean, think about it. Like, what is Greenland's price tag? I don't even know how you could calculate that. Like $50 trillion? Like, I don't know, $10 trillion? What would it be, to buy Greenland? Did you react to the jobs data? Yes. That's why we have this. The jobs data actually came out to be very good. Very, very good. Way better than expectations. And that's what caused Bitcoin to drop from 995 down. And then now we're kind of hovering here. I don't know what the rest of the day will bring. MicroStrategy wasn't a green, now into red. Overall today, horrible in green. I'm actually surprised that with such a horrible day, Bitcoin actually and cryptos actually still holding. My fear was once we had this dump that we were going to keep on going back to 91s, but we're holding here, but we'll see. Wall Street tends to be very, very scared of the potential of less rate cuts this year. So any good economic data, good news is actually bad in their eyes. France says we better not buy it. When has anyone ever listened to anything France has said? What are they going to do about it? I don't like Paris. I don't look forward to going to Paris Blockchain Week. I went last year. I was so disappointed with the food. I did not like the hotel I stayed at. There's nothing really good about Paris other than, yes, you get to see the Eiffel Tower, and yes, you get to see where the Mona Lisa is in that museum. I don't know what it's called. Louvre or something. But outside of that, I don't see the appeal of Paris at all. All these people that keep asking why Sui has low circuit supply, because it just does. They still have a huge inflation rate over the next like 30 years, but that's 30 years. US bought half the United States from France for 15 million back in the day. Yeah, it was like the same thing with Alaska, but those were like back in the day. Like in modern times, if you were going to buy Greenland, I have no idea what you would offer. I guess you would have to look at the GDP of Greenland and do a multiple of it. So what's the GDP of Greenland? GDP of Greenland in 2021 was 20.34 billion DKK. What's DKK to US? Man, $0.14. So that's not a whole lot. 20.34 billion. So let's do 20. So 20 billion in GDP is 2.7 billion in US dollar. That's per year. That's tiny. That's tiny. So even if you extrapolate it and do like, 10x of that would be what, 27 billion? Let's just do 100x of that. 2.7 trillion. Yeah, 2 trillion. So 2 trillion. 2 trillion will cover Greenland's GDP for basically the next 75 to 80 years. Is that good enough? I think so. So if I was Trump, I would offer $2 trillion for Greenland. That's a hard offer to pass. But what does that mean? Does Greenland give some of that to their citizens, or do they just pocket the $2 trillion? What does that even? What do they even do with that money? Yeah, I mean, if they vote yes, what do they just divide it among the population and just give everyone money? How does that even work? $2 trillion, we're already at minus 36 trillion. Adding another 2 trillion to buy a country, I'd say that's worth it. I would do that. Oh yeah, that's 1,000 times. I'm sorry. So 100 times would be 270 billion. Oh, that's chump change. Let's just do 2 trillion and make it so that's the GDP of Greenland for the next 800 years. So they can't turn that down. That's giving someone, if you're selling your business, getting a multiple of 800x. That's too good. Greenland belongs to Denmark. No, see, that's the thing. There's a rule stated that Greenland can have a vote, and if they want to become independent, they can. And they won't be owned by Denmark anymore. So that is actually something that they're thinking about. They can actually vote to become independent of Denmark. Just offer 2 trillion. 2 trillion is good. That's 800x of their GDP. Or 700x, whatever it is. Bruno, you might be right about that, but it's still not the same. Having bases there is not the same as just controlling it and doing whatever you want. Oh boy. Unfortunately, Wall Street is selling off again. Let's see if we can hold and not go all the way back down to 91. Let's see if we can bounce off of here and come back a little bit. It's just Wall Street is just really annoying. Really, really annoying. They take such a good report and turn it into a negative. I was hoping this wasn't going to be the case. But yesterday I did say, hey, if the jobs report comes out really good, we're probably going to have a really bad day. And we started out not so bad, but I'm hoping, we hold and come back. Otherwise, if Wall Street continues to sell off due to this, it may be pretty ugly. Alan, that's a good point. If you give them 2 trillion and they become our country, do we just take the 2 trillion back? No, I have a feeling like, you know, you give it to the citizens, or you give it to Denmark, or you give it to wherever. I mean, it's like, I don't know how that works. It's just for fun. Just speculating for fun. Clean says, glad I closed my position. Sometimes I was getting tired of adding to my margin. You know, sometimes that is the best move. You know, sometimes we get trapped in the negative and we keep adding margin, and, you know, it's such a toll. And sometimes even you add all that margin, you still get liquidated and it makes it worse. Sometimes the best thing is just like you got to cut, take your losses, and move on. The last 3 weeks has been brutal playing with leverage. Dennis, when are we done with these freaking dumb sellings? I agree with you. I'm getting tired of it, but right now, that's what Wall Street wants. Wall Street is very reactionary with all the data we're getting. For anyone that's tuning in late, this is the reason why we got, in the US, we got a much better jobs report than expected. Unemployment went down. This is why the US market isn't doing too well. And crypto is being pulled down with it. However, you may be wondering, well, why is the title of this video, Bitcoin could hit 1.5 million by this day? It doesn't change. What's happening today, what happened last 3 weeks, right, does not change the course for Bitcoin. This year is going to be great, especially in the US. See, this headline up here, they just changed it. Dow tumbles 550 points, a strong jobs report likely to put brakes on Fed rate cutting. See, again, we're in the bizarre world where good economic data in normal times would send the market up. But because people are afraid that Powell's not going to cut more rates, because of it, we're going down. Minus 600 for Dow, minus 441 for NASDAQ, which is horrible, over 2%. But when in doubt, zoom out, okay? We have seen this before many times, many times, even within the last 4 months. And every single cycle we go through this. And every single cycle, we get past it, we break through, and we make a new high, and then we forget about all the dumps. So nothing has changed. Fundamentally, Bitcoin is still strong as ever, besides the price. Garth, 10 years from now, Bitcoin is worth 1.5 million each. How will $1 buy at that time? Well, Bitcoin is divisible by 8 decimal points, right? So you try to divide it. If you can't even buy a sat for $1, then it is what it is. It can only be divisible by 8 decimal points, I believe. I think Yeah, I think that's it. We're going to go a lot higher than 120, man. Mega try. 120 is too conservative. We could be, after we break 108, we'll be at 120 in no time. The next leg up from 108, which is basically 110, is 120. And there's no way in hell that 120 is the high point for Bitcoin this year. For the entire year, zero chance of that. Dennis Peters, but isn't this the purest form of market manipulation? The same with small transactions. What are you talking about? Wall Street will always do its thing, right? They will always buy and sell, but you got to take the good with the bad. Like, for example, why did this happen? Okay, we pumped from here to here out of nowhere. That's due to Wall Street. Okay, and then this is due to Wall Street. So, I mean, you got to take good and bad with the bad. I mean, you got to take the bad with the good. The reason why we pumped up to 108,000 earlier last year was also due to Wall Street. The reason why we're ahead of the game for this cycle is again due to Wall Street. So I mean, it sucks. They're very reactionary, and maybe they are manipulating the market and suppressing it in some ways. But no doubt they have been leading this cycle. What if Wall Street is now placing long positions? They could. They definitely could. If you look at this, okay, this is pretty big. Within 1 year, ETFs has taken up more than 5% of supply. I guarantee you 90% of that plus is institutions, so Wall Street. So yeah, that's not going to stop. And they're not, I mean, obviously we see some outflows periodically, but majority of the time it's just inflows. And that's just ETFs. What about OTC deals and stuff like that? There's definitely a lot more accumulation than selling. Obviously, otherwise we wouldn't be at the price point we're at. So a lot of times when there are down days, it would not surprise me. There are many that are buying, but that's the way to do it. You're supposed to buy low and sell high, right? And that's why I've been telling you guys, don't get feared out. Don't get flooded out. Stay the course. Stay strong. You guys have been doing so for years or months. Just continue doing it because we will get through this. Once Bitcoin gets oversold to a point, and when Wall Street starts putting money back in, we will rise up just as quick. Yeah. Trump sentenced without penalty in New York hush money case. Trump was sentenced to no jail time, fines, or any other punishment. Yeah, this is what I read. You know, he's not going to go to jail. There's no probation, nothing. But it dings his record. Trump will be the first, it sounds so bad. Trump will be the first criminal convict ever to occupy the Oval Office. I mean, he has a criminal felony on his record now. But that just sounds horrible. The first criminal convict. We talked about this. You know, there's nothing in the Constitution that says that you can't be president while being in jail. Like, you could actually be in jail and still become president. There's nothing in the Constitution that prohibits that. Because the founders never thought anything like that would be close of happening. Yeah, I mean, why he wouldn't care? I mean, he does care. I mean, I would care. I mean, he's still president and all, and this doesn't really matter. But if it sticks on his record, it just kind of sucks. In the history books, there'll always be like an asterisk, like he's the first president to have a felony record. You know, like you don't want that. Because at this point, at his age, you know, it's all about legacy, right? To have the best legacy you can. You don't want this on your record. I don't know if you could, people are saying you could appeal it. I don't know if you could appeal it anymore. This already went to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court said this sentencing is going to go on. So, like, how are you going to appeal this? The Supreme Court voted 5-4 to let the sentencing go on. Because he's still president-elect. He's not president yet. If I sold Greenland, I would use cash to buy Bitcoin. It doesn't say New York's Supreme Court. It says the U.S. Supreme Court. The U.S. is the highest Supreme Court in the nation that voted upon this to let the state sentencing go through. So it's not the New York Supreme Court. It's the U.S. Supreme Court. Well, the good thing is, right after that sentencing, Bitcoin is now going back up again. So maybe a lot of people were just worried about, you know, the sentencing was going to be really bad. So we got a good spike back up. Let's see if that's a turning point. Yeah, I don't know. It's getting confusing. The Supreme Court ruled that the sentencing could go through, but now that the verdict, I mean, the sentencing have happened, can you appeal that? Does it have to go back? Does it go back to the New York Supreme Court and then goes to the U.S. Supreme Court? I don't know. It's just a lot of bad press overall. It's more fun to talk about the prospect of buying Greenland and taking over Canada than talking about that. Seems like everyone says that he could still appeal. Yeah, I mean, the damage has been done. If he could appeal it and this is no longer part of his record, it's expunged, it's great. But people are not going to forget about it. This will always be in people's minds. Although from the comments, it does seem like a lot of people didn't even know this was happening. And I don't. And the voter fraud case in Atlanta, I think that was just. I don't know what happened there. I don't know if that was thrown out or dismissed, because obviously it doesn't matter because he got voted again into president. So I don't know what happened to the Atlanta case. Or Georgia case. I don't know. I saw, yeah, Trump and Obama sat next to each other at the funeral, and they had some good words with each other. They were laughing it up. There was a tense moment where Pence actually shook hands with Trump, but his wife refused to do so. That was at least Pence was still cordial. And then Biden fell asleep. No surprise. George Bush like slapped Obama's stomach or something like that. I mean, it's interesting how everyone's like studying all these presidents, ex-presidents, former presidents, and vice presidents. Dollar bill. Trump's not perfect, but he's the best we got and better than most. You know what? I'll agree with that. It just seems like we don't really have really strong presidential candidates anymore. But everything I've been hearing about what he's saying, I mean, they're distractions, I know. But like in terms of why, he's presenting good reasons why Canada should be a 51st state and why we should buy Greenland. Not that to say that it's going to happen, but he presents great cases why it's good for America. And after listening to him, I was like, it makes a lot of sense. Not that Canada agrees or Greenland agrees, but these are things that no one before would ever talk about. They're even renaming Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America. There's a reason for that. I found that out. I didn't even know. Everyone thinks it's just a silly idea, but there's actually a reason why he wants to do it. No, I don't think I lost my mind. It's just fun to talk about. I mean, it's a Friday. We're talking casually, just speculating. Who cares? Don't take everything so seriously, PP Panda. It's driving the narrative. That's what he does. He's great at it. He makes people focus on things that normally they would never focus on, and then everyone talks about it. He knows how to drive the conversation. No matter what happens, Canada isn't going to be part of the U.S. Yeah, no one thinks it's actually going to happen. It's just fun to speculate. Yeah, the reason why renaming Gulf of Mexico is due to oil reasons. I mean, you can't drill I guess there's some bill that was signed that says you can't drill in Gulf of Mexico. But legally, if it was renamed to Gulf of America, you could start drilling again. It's just something stupid like that. But it's actually genius if you think about it. Anyways, on that note, you know what? So we got some good economic data that, to sum up, that brought down the U.S. market. Will we recover from this? Yes. Will Bitcoin continue forward and hit $1.5 million in 10 years? Yes. So bottom line is stay strong and continue to hodl and continue to DCA if you can. And it's not just Bitcoin. You have many others like Sui and Solana and XRP and so many other great coins out there. Yeah, what happened to New Mexico? What if we should definitely rename that? Should call it something else besides New Mexico. New America, New Texas. I don't know. Call it something. That would be funny if the state gets renamed. All right. Smash the like, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys. I'll see you guys on Monday. Tomorrow, I should be able to do another. I should be able to do a crypto cruise tomorrow, and then my Sunday walk, obviously. Going forward, just so you guys know, I'll be having a lot more short form video, and we'll test it out on this channel, on the Clips channel, and on all the other social media platforms. So we're going to see how they do, but just give you guys a heads up. All right. Have a good one. Take care.